Tell me a little bit about yourself, Yashoda, and yeah, we can slip right into the session. Go ahead.
Since we are connecting for the very first times, so I would love to introduce myself. And thank you for giving me this wonderful opportunity to introduce myself. So, since you already know, my name is Yashoda, and I'm connecting to you from Uttar Pradesh. Talking about my education, so I completed my schooling, like I am only 12 years. And if I talk about my English language learning journey, so I'm about to complete my 3 years. I have been learning this language for 3 years, and whatever I have learned so far, just from YouTube, by watching YouTube videos, I have learned everything. And I belong to a villager, so I am a villager, and I'm a part-time homemaker. But at the same time, I am an enthusiastic English language learner. And
Okay.
if I talk about my hobbies, so my hobbies, there's only one and only my hobby, spending time only with me and with my English language.
Right, right. That's really nice to hear, Yashoda. So it's pretty impressive that you managed to pick up such good language from YouTube. So that's pretty commendable. So I think that's also something that you learners can learn from. Now my turn. So I'm Selena, and I am from Kerala. So I am a Malayali, and yeah, I am a part-time tutor and a student as well. So yes, I am also studying and yeah, learning as much as I can about the language. So we can take this session as a way for both of us to learn and impart whatever knowledge we possess of the language. So, what do you want to do today? What should we talk about?
Mm, as you wish, the ball is in your court.
Okay, so you said, right? So you were saying how you learned from YouTube, right? So, what do you think is perhaps one of the biggest challenges that people who are adults in their lives and who manage to learn the language in their school? Because technically, we are all taught English in school, right? At least to some extent, we are taught the language in school. But what do you think is perhaps the biggest issue that they face, or the inability? What do you think is the inability that they are unable to retain the language in their adult life? And they have to try and work through it again. What do you think is perhaps the possibility for that? Because I think that because we are not native speakers of the language, right, we are not presented with a lot of opportunities where we can
Yes,
practice.
ma'am, yes.
What are your thoughts? I want to know what your thoughts are in the matter.
If I say, Miss, if I talk about my own perspective, so in my own perspective, nothing is possible for any person if you are really dedicated or ambitious for doing something. Talking about the surroundings and environment which I get where I live is totally negative. At the same time, because the kind of village I belong to, my all family members, they are totally irritated. Even my husband. He is not well educated. He is only eighth pass.
Okay.
So the time when I started learning this language, so at that time they filled me only with demotivation, and they provoked me against my journey. But just because of I was so adamant to learn this, so because of I am here, and
Yeah.
yeah, learning English in the village is very very hard work for us. We don't get the environment, we don't get supporters for us, and even our family members they make fun of us. Means sometimes when I do my speaking practice, when I read some books, so they consider me like I am a kind of a mad person, crazy person. I'm just wasting my time. Instead of
Right.
indulging myself into doing household chores, some works related to farming, they
Mm-hmm.
consider me like this. So especially being a homemaker, because we
Mm-hmm.
have cows, we have cattle, we have our farms, many things to do. So
Yeah.
sparing time for us, it is really very difficult. But
Totally. Yes.
uh,
Yes. Yeah. So I think that ultimately, like you said, right, the consistency and the dedication that you put into learning the language, only that can yield results in the long run. Because if we were to stop because somebody else tells you to, then it's not going to cut it. We need to make sure that we're putting ourselves out there and we're consistently learning. And you will agree as well, right? The learning process is never, it's a never ending one. We have to continue it throughout our whole lives. Right, regardless of whatever fluency we achieve. So perhaps if somebody is watching and they get the feeling that maybe the people around me might judge me on the basis of language, the first instinct that we can tell them
yes,
to adopt is don't think too much. Okay, just learn the language because English has evolved into a global language. It is a part of all our lives. We need to learn it to survive
yes.
and to exchange cultures. For example, you and I, we come from different cultures, but we're able to communicate through the
Yes,
language. Right. So, yeah. So, what would you say were a couple of tricks and tips that helped you along the way to try and master or perfect the language to some extent? What do you think has helped? Besides, of course, yes, watching YouTubers definitely helps, but you must have done something from your end as well, right, to try and maintain the progress. So, what was all that? Why don't you try talking about it?
Okay, ma'am, wonderful question you asked for me. So whatever answer I would give from my own experience, because as all of us, we already know, when it comes to learning a language, we should try to learn a language just like a newborn baby. So the same method applied. I started from doing listening practice because the time when I decided to learn English, so at the time I didn't have even 100 vocabularies. I was not aware about even the basic vocabularies because I did my schooling from 2005 in Hindu medium school. So then there was 10 years gap. I had to juggle a lot to learn everything. But just because of, one thing I did from the very beginning, I started posting my video on my channel. I started sharing my journey with all my subscribers and viewers. And I was cheating my viewers. Like I used to watch some of the videos and I used to speak like the same content I used to speak using my own way. So at that time making mistake, but whatever I would listen throughout the day, I would speak in front of my camera. And in this way, I got the confidence. And yeah, in my case, listening helped me a lot. If I talk about listening, so I would do 4 or 5 hours in a day listening practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. The commitment that we bring in, it's not about just doing a couple of practice exercises and call it a day. We have to consistently push ourselves, right? And like you said, listening is one of the greatest way in which we can adopt to the language because we can learn it through our textbooks, we can learn it through our notebooks, but we need to know how a word is pronounced. We need to know how a word needs to be uttered or how it can be used in a sentence, right? For example, if you look at a simple word such as I understand, okay? Or if you were to take a word such as really, okay, and if you were to put it in a sentence, you can use n number of ways you can form sentences with that single word. You can say, I really appreciate the effort you put in, or I really don't understand what you're trying to do. So it's being used in different contexts. And you can even use the word in itself in many ways. You can say, oh, really, or you can say, oh, really. So the different emotions associated with the word and the different ways in which all of these comes through listening to trying and understanding as much as we can about the language. So I think listening definitely helps, but at the same time we need to make sure that we have an opportunity to channel it outside. For example, in your case, right, you are able to communicate and you're able to maintain a good connection with your viewers, and that is what is ultimately helping you, right? Because we are retaining whatever we can through what we're reading, through what we're listening to, what we're watching, and we are finding a place where we can turn it into an output, right, where we can export what we are
It is really
acquiring.
important.
Exactly. So I think this is something that anybody who is a beginner or even an advanced person with the language, what they can understand is just learning things is not going to cut it. We need to find a way to channel it. And with Indians or with us as a community, we're not native speakers of the language. We are not provided with an opportunity where we can step out and start speaking until and unless you're in a professional environment. So, like you said, you know, going through or communicating through whatever platform that you have. For example, in your case, you have content creation, but if somebody is not a content creator, they can still speak on a topic for a minute or two and try to record themselves, or you get the idea, right? Try to do a self assessment, correct? So because if you were to encourage every mistake that you made, you wouldn't reach where you are right now. Right, we have to scrutinize ourselves, we have to consistently push ourselves, right, to be the
Yes,
best
we
version of
have to
ourselves
always
individually.
try to be only in uncomfortable zone because being a human, we like only our comfort. We don't want to leave our comfort. And ma'am, I would love to just discuss with you why I started learning this language. There's a main reason because once when the corona happened at that time, my husband met with an accident because of which my husband and I, we were totally broken. And even at that time, we suffered only for even for 5 or 10 rupees. The situations were really bad, and my husband and I, we were totally shattered. My husband was bedridden for almost 6 months. He couldn't move. So at that time, I decided to do something on my own to help my husband financially. And just because of being a villager, being a homemaker, I am not allowed to go anywhere to do a job, to get a job and do that job. So I had to find a new source of earning money. So I decided to work on YouTube. But I just wanted to do something out of the box, because of which I decided to learn English language. Because for me and for my family, dignity matters a lot. And I had to choose something in which I can work for my dignity, for my respect, and for everything. So I could find only English language was a perfect niche on which I can work. So because of which I am here.
Yeah, and that determination is something that can serve as an inspiration for anybody out there who's trying to learn, right? Because it's not something that you achieved in a day or two. When we look at COVID, it's been 5 years since it happened, right? And the consistency that you showed in 2020 is the consistency that's driving you in 2025. Right. So
Yeah.
that is ultimately the biggest takeaway that we can get from trying to learn a language. It's always about consistently pushing yourself, constantly trying to learn. Because even at this stage, right, I'm quite comfortable with the language at this point, but I still make an effort to try and learn new words, try and learn new phrases, because we can take any chance that we can get to try and brush up the language. So
Yeah.
yeah, and if you are somebody who do not know where you can start learning from, or if you are somebody who has a decent grasp or who has a decent amount of understanding of the language and you can sustain a simple conversation, what you can do is you can come up with adjectives, right? You can come up with different ways of saying the same thing. For example, if I were to say something tastes good, instead of saying that something tastes good, I can try to substitute the word good for something else. For example, I can say that this food smells pleasant, or it leaves a positive feeling. So this is some of the ways in which we can make it a little bit more fancy. You get the idea, right? And I think this is also something
Yeah.
that you try to incorporate as well. Rather than sticking to basic sentences, we try to expand our range a little bit, right? Won't you agree, Yashoda?
Yes, yes, I totally agree, because even through my videos, I got lots of comments. Means we should try to stick to only basic words. But I think when you want to go from B1 to B2 level or C1 to C2 level, then acquiring new words, idioms, or phrases, it is very, very crucial for us. Should not stick to only the basic one.
Yes,
Because
yes,
if you
totally.
really want to make it your profession, you want to get something out of it. So you will have to sacrifice something. You will have to put your time. You will have to spare more time for it. And you will
Yes,
have to
yes,
keep planning something or the other thing.
totally,
And
totally.
the main thing, which is really very difficult for I think most of the learners, even I was also facing this problem. I was not able to learn the vocabularies. I used to use very basic vocabularies, but these days I am working on it and
Yes, yes.
I'm trying to make the most out of everything.
Yes, 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 and that's really commendable, Yashoda. And I think regarding the issue that you raised, right, it's something that's very common, and because it's hard to try and retain a new word that you learn. So one of the best ways in which we can remedy that is to try and take baby steps. So you said, right, that we have to treat learning a new skill like as if we were a toddler, or we were a child, and we were learning it through baby steps. I think that's quite applicable for vocabulary as well. Rather than focusing on a lot of words, rather than watching a lot of content or reading a lot or listening to a lot, what you can do is listen to a little, read a little, watch a little, and try to retain 2 to 3 words daily and practice it. Either you can practice on your own. You don't always need someone to practice it with. Of course, it helps if you can practice it with someone, but at the same time, too, you can always pick a topic and speak on it for a minute or two. Try to use these words that you are keeping in mind. For example, if today I was thinking, yes, I will pick up pleasant, fascinating, and another word, and I'll try to use that in my speech. So what this does is it naturally conditions your brain to try and use these in real life situations. So that dedication or that willingness to put in that effort, that definitely matters. Won't you agree?
Yes, ma'am. You are absolutely right. And I think we should use the holistic approach to learn anything. Only one thing doesn't work for us. But I would say in my case, I am not into the habit of writing. So would you like to give me your insights? How would I start writing? Because though I have tried a lot, but I'm not into this habit. I really want to do this habit because this is a very nice way to put our thoughts on the paper. And
Yeah.
if we really want to acquire new words, we want to use them, then this is a very good method. But I am not able to do it. I don't know what kind of things should I write on the paper or what not to do.
Yeah, so I think writing is not something that everybody fancies. Especially, I'm not a big fan of writing as well because it's quite tiring to keep making the pen and paper work. So I get where you come from, but at the same time, too, like you said, it's a really good habit to try and brush up on your skills. So if you're somebody who struggles with writing, or if you struggle with commitments in terms of writing, what you can do is instead of writing a lot, just focus on a simple paragraph. You don't have to write a lot. You can just focus on writing perhaps a couple of sentences, and you can always do journaling. Journaling is something that you suggest even as a child, because just recounting the things that happened to you today. For example, today you and I had a session. So you can say, yes, today I had a session with Miss Selena and we discussed a lot of insights on English.
It's
So,
everything,
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah, and then you just journal it, and you can say, yeah, this is my entry for November 4th. And then the next day you repeat this. And then gradually, if you feel to broaden your writing skills a little bit, you can pick up a topic, or you can come up with flash fictions. So flash fictions refers to short stories that are summed up in 100 to 150 words or less, or more. So this is like short bits or bites, or you can write, so you can expand, see what works for you. Again, I wouldn't say that writing is a necessity. You have to know what works for you. But if you want to develop writing, one of the easiest ways you can do it is journaling. And it's a good habit as well. It helps your brain improve its memory, the capacity to retain things. And at the same time,
Yeah.
like we said, right, we can learn a couple of new words daily and try to use that in our language. So journaling is a really good way to incorporate that. For example, if you were to take the example that I gave, I said fascinating, pleasant. Imagine if I were to pick these three words today. I'm making it a point to use this. I can write. Yes, I had a fascinating experience with Yashoda today as I was attending a Zoom session regarding the language, and it was really pleasant to talk to her because she shared a lot of beautiful insights. So you see how it goes? Yeah, I think this is something that can help us in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, if I would say don't stress on it too much, because ultimately it's what works for you that should matter.